Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Puppy Turtle Reacts to Calpurnpiso number 2. Because I left the book I'm reading right now, the second Percy Jackson and the Olympians book, which I'm really enjoying so far, even though I'm not that far into it. I left it somewhere, and I won't be able to get it again until tomorrow. And so I guess I have nothing better to do until dinner than to watch a Calpurnpiso video. And this one has been on my sort of mental list of things to react to for a little while because when I saw the title, I knew immediately and still know that this is going to be a simply absurd video. And that oh good God. So today I guess we're going to see a little demonstration on how Calpurnpiso can blame absolutely anything on religion. First off, I did, because he named what case he's talking about, I did, even though I haven't seen this before, I did do a little bit of research, of searching, which you just saw me close out of, on what happened here. Basically, there was this father with a 22-month-old son, and it was his job every day to drop said son off at daycare on the way to work. And one day, he forgot. I should mention, full disclosure, he stopped at Chick-fil-A on the way there, which, if Calpurnpiso may well end up associating with this incident, because that's the only way he could possibly try to cram religion into this that would at least be derived from the events that actually took place. Anyways, he forgot to drop his son off at the daycare and just kind of went into work. And went in, and 8 hours later, he came out. This was a 90-something degree summer day, and his son was dead. Because he had spent 8 hours trapped in a hot car. Now, there's a little bit more to it than that. Like, there's speculation into the wife and her nature and involvement, and there's speculation as to, how much of an asshole this guy was, and to what extent this was really his fault. So, like, for example, the prosecution in the case, because he's being charged with murder, was able to show that that it was a rear-facing car seat, but you could have seen the kid's head over it. So he should have, in theory, seen the child as he got out. Anyways, let's get to the video by Calpurnpiso.
Hi friends,
Go fuck yourself.
this is Calpurnpiso
Unfortunately, yes.
with more rants. Well,
Well, at least you're accurate this time.
my video before was ranting about, complaining about the churches and atheists, mentally healthy, in other words, atheists that don't see the churches corrupting the brain of children and turning Americans psychopath and ignorant and dumb and the rest of it.
You can't turn someone ignorant. I mean, I guess you could by feeding them disinformation, so never mind that.
Very psychotic and crazy for the
You can induce mental illness in someone, but not by indoctrinating them.
for the hundreds of years that they've been raping the brain of children. And of
To all victims of things like stalking, which could reasonably be called mental rape, I apologize on behalf of all Homo sapiens sapiens for the fact that Calpurnpiso just said that.
course, children grow up and become psychotic senators that believe in the resurrected zombie that stay with blood. I was ranting about that, but about today I'm going to explain about the father that killed his kid in a car. He had a kid named Cooper,
Yes.
and it's been happening now. This is the 3rd of July. And it's no accident. And I want to explain why it's happening. Nobody seems to see it.
Probably because you're gonna make up bullshit. Just throwing it out there.
And of course, as I always say, it's a disconnected brain that happens in all religions, many neurological disorders.
Nowhere in my admittedly modest research, or well, very modest research, did I see any speculation as to this guy being mentally ill. And yeah, I read like 3 news articles about the incident, but I mean, if there were any reason to think this guy were mentally ill, I would think that would be brought up. Or at least if there were any reason to think he were mentally ill, that it would, and that it affected the incident. Because, like, and I mean, what mental illness causes you to like the only mental illness that would cause you to forget that your son was in your car would be some kind of memory limiting disorder like amnesia or I think Alzheimer's could definitely do that. Things along those lines. Um, Various forms of dementia could do that. Schizophrenia couldn't, as far as I know. Neither could bipolar disorder, neither could many things. Though, incidentally, humans don't need a mental disorder of any kind to forget important things. Especially important parts of our routine.
When the brain is confused and you believe the fantasies to be actually reality. It's like when you're drunk. When you take a lot of drugs, you see things, you take LSD and you see all these things and images and you believe they'll be reality. It's like
Not necessarily. I'm pretty sure it's possible for a high person to realize that their hallucinations are such.
it's like being daydreaming, because of drugs and disease also. Well, this exactly the same thing happens in religious beliefs.
No, actually, being religious does not induce visual or auditory hallucinations of any kind.
Especially what I call Christ psychosis, which is Christianity.
No, being a Christian does not induce any kind of visual or auditory hallucination.
All religions are mental illness. This is a form of schizophrenia that mild, nobody seems to see it, and it's inside of you, and you have these beliefs that can actually explode and make you act extremely crazy. In this case, it's the idea of a promise of eternal life and life after death and all that mumbo jumbo.
Because there's no one who believes in any of that without being, religious. And it's like, how do you know that belief can only happen from mental illness or from, extreme youth or lack of education?
Bullshit. Some brains actually believe it. It's like conspiracy theories. And when you believe this stuff,
Conspiracy, not conspirative.
in church and all that, your parents keep teaching this, and you constantly. And then you have the idea that is happening here. And sex is dirty and it's bad. So if you do something, you're horny and you have sex with somebody, you feel demonic and possessed by demons. And if you masturbate,
What the fuck? no, Calpurnpiso, not every Christian, or even the majority of Christians, believe that anyone who has sex has to be possessed by a demon. It's possible that Jack Chick or someone extremely similar to him has said that. I don't know for a fact that they have. I know that Jack Chick has insinuated that homosexuals at least tend to be possessed by demons. But no. No, it's not. It's not. I'm almost tempted to put that on the list. Like my stupidest thing ever list, which I'm gonna pull up here because I'm gonna want to have it on hand. Do 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 do. Trying to think, is that dumber than the current number 9, which is the transgender? Yes, it is dumber, so it goes on the list. So let me just change to sharing my full screen. Let's figure out where that statement goes. See, it's definitely below starving people in Africa are just lazy. It's above trans people are not oppressed. Above ICE. I'm gonna put it here. And I'm gonna okay.
Today it is bad and nobody talks about it. You cannot do all that, so it's because it's forbidden because of the Christian Christ psychotics in church. It's a sin and it's bad. In this case, the father, deeply religious, and you find out that every time there is this crazy thing going on, the parents are brought up in Christian homes.
I wasn't able to find anything along those lines. Categories education. Oh my god, that description. A modern child sacrifice, which would necessitate that they did this intentionally, which may or may not wind up being true, actually, by Christ psychosis infected parents, as was that of Andrea Yates's drowning 5 children for Jesus a few years ago. So yeah, a citation needed on them being deeply religious. I've not seen that anywhere.
I mean, the people are brought up in Israel and go to church all the time, and they have this distorted concept of reality.
I'm gonna. So apparently it was a religious family, huh? Well, I could still fault Calpurnpiso for not citing that statement.
And of course, it happens in the brain, nowhere else. You don't pick up thoughts from the air, from imaginary friends. No, our brain creates the thoughts. If the brain is malfunction, disconnected, sensory gauging deficits or functioning in the hypothalamus, the back connections in the brain, you perceive things wrong, and then you have these problems. And this.
So you believe, Calpurnpiso, that ideological indoctrination can cause that kind of physical problem with the brain? You're retarded, metaphorically speaking.
Exactly what happened to his father that actually drowned. His father that actually, on purpose.
That's not a stab. Or maybe the newspaper articles I read were not recent enough. As far as I saw, that's not established. On purpose isn't established. I do see a video here.
Highly disturbing new information coming in the death of a 2-year-old toddler whose dad claimed he accidentally left him inside his blazing hot car. Our affiliate WSB is reporting tonight that cops now believe something far more sinister happened, that the dad knew all along that his son was trapped in a car seat inside his car in the boiling heat all day long. We are also just hearing that manner and cause of death will be released tomorrow. Police began to doubt the dad's story early on and have charged him with felony murder. But we still don't know what evidence they may have to back up the murder charge and hold him without bond. Good evening. I'm Jane Velez Mitchell coming to you live. Thanks for joining me.
Left him in the back of his SUV while he went to work, pulled his child out, laid him on the concrete, tried to resuscitate him.
At first, police said the 33-year-old father made a terrible mistake.
Claims he simply forgot to drop Cooper off. Is it possible for this to have been intentional?
It didn't take long for them to question his story.
Things are not always what they appear.
Seems like it's a rush to judgment.
He'll be entering a plea of not guilty of this time.
You could feel his sorrow and his hurt. Sometimes police get it wrong.
This is really a shocking development. One day after police called little Cooper Harris's death an accident, they announced they could not confirm Dad's story anymore. They charged Justin Harris with felony murder and child cruelty. He has pleaded not guilty. Now, initially, he told cops he simply forgot that his toddler son was strapped into a car seat inside the car at his work parking lot for 7 hours approximately. Did he really forget about him? Or did he purposely abandon his innocent little boy inside a torturous death trap? The toddler's funeral is now set for Saturday. Here's a question. Do you think Daddy should be allowed to go? Call me. 1-877-JDM says 1-877-586-7297. Our Lions Den debate panel is ready to hash this out. But first, straight out to Victor Blackwell, CNN correspondent who has been all over this story. Victor, so much shocking breaking news. What is the very latest?
Well, the latest, as you said, our affiliate reporting that evidence presented shows that Harris apparently knew his son had been left in the car. We can also report tonight that 2 search warrants have been issued to search Harris's home for evidence for cops to begin to build this case. As you said, we're going to learn the manner and cause of death tomorrow. We know that this autopsy was completed by the medical examiners. They have been waiting for toxicology reports. But for the past few days, they've been working with the Crimes Against Persons Division to lock up this case and find out exactly what killed him, this young boy. Now, we know from the investigator I spoke with last week, he said that what he knows about this case, although he would not give specifics, would shock the conscience of anyone listening. He says it shocks his conscience as a police officer, a father, and a grandfather.
Well, I mean, it is shocking, and I'm going to say it one more time, and then we're going to get HLN law enforcement analyst Mike Brooks to give us some insight into this, because I know, Mike, you've been working the phone. Okay, sources tell Channel 2 Action News, WSB, that there is evidence that Justin Ross Harris, 33, knew his son was in the back seat of his car. Mike, what kind of evidence do they look for in a situation like this?
One of the reporters from WSB tonight was reporting that apparently he went to the car during the day. So what evidence would they have of that? Well, Jane, we also know that they served a search warrant at his work there at Home Depot.
if I'm an investigator and I'm trying to get a search warrant for his office, I'm going to be checking on his computer. I'm going to be checking also surveillance cameras as they have there at Home Depot. So we don't know exactly what evidence they have that he went back to his car, and possibly also maybe witnesses. But Jane, it's not looking good for him right now if these are all true.
All right, so I'm gonna also check out. See, first we have daily banter, and I'm not going to read this entire thing to you, but all right. So according to what I'm reading right now, it probably was deliberate, but the motivation was probably not religious. There is a mention here of hiding behind religious language, but the motivation probably has to do with him wanting to live a childless life and having a and he apparently had a 16-year-old girlfriend despite being married. And they also had a $25,000, which I'm pretty sure is quite a bit, life insurance policy.
Prepare the child to be going to heaven.
No, that is far from established.
And the only way I can do this, and also with the consent of the mother, also. See, they are very deeply religious people. They know that the child is going to be living good, and when he hear the news about so much evil going in this world, and the wars and problems, and he realizes that the child is so beautiful and nice, is going to grow up and is going to be in this evil world, probably suffering disease and having all these problems, they actually have the idea of actually killing him. But making it, offering to God, and then you have to do research, how long, how bad it is when the kids are left in a car, how long it takes for them to die, and all this stuff. And what happens if you send you to prison, and how long are you to be, how you to cope with prison. So all that research this guy did. And notice no emotion in the courtroom. No emotion. If if I would anybody that does anything like that by accident, you'll be sobbing. I'll be like, I'll try to kill myself if I leave my kid in a car that I love.
Please leave your kid in a car.
But in this case, it's twisted. So he's feeling very stoic, like nothing is happening. And the mother also, knowing
I forgot. Thankfully, you don't have children.
emotion as a detective. So here you're going to present this, and you will understand what I'm talking about. Enjoy. You remember in ancient times, children sacrificed by the ancients. They did it
No, I don't remember because I was not yet born.
on purpose.
Yes.
In Peru, they have the little mummies of the sleeping, they give them drugs and they put them in the mountains to offer them to the gods. It's happened forever.
Not literally, but okay.
When you don't understand reality, when you don't understand
You're one to fucking talk.
science, when you don't understand the world, and you believe in imaginary friends, and you're religious, a religious psychosis, and you believe in life after death, then of course you're going to sacrifice your children.
Not necessarily. In some cases, that winds up happening. Christianity explicitly forbids human sacrifice, at least in this context.
You're going to sacrifice them to the gods, to be in heaven, to be in the best place in the world. And that's exactly what it shouldn't happen today because but yes, we do have religious psychosis. So in the moment
Okay, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the giving of human sacrifices was not because you wanted those people to go to heaven, or a given religion's equivalent. It was because it was needed either to appease or to sustain the gods.
you have religious psychosis, schizophrenia type disorder, then you do all these crazy things. From the long times, in other words, your brain is target is screwed up. And that's exactly what's happening. The kid is not going to get older anymore. He's going to be with the gods. He's going to be forever there because you love him so much. Exactly what's happening. Just like in ancient times. Exactly the same. In this case,
No.
you put it in the car for him to die. Ancient time would be child, you give him drugs and put him to die in a mountain. And we see the mummies all over. Same thing. Same psychosis, different century.
Yeah, we're seeing that in the order. What she did.
Let me just say about the audio quality here, ow, and that may seem a little bit hypocritical, but I think that my reciprocative audio is at least tolerable. Good God, that's painful.
Once she walked into the daycare, she walked back to Cooper's classroom where she ran into Michelle, and she asked, what are you doing here? And Landon's like, well, I'm here to pick up Cooper, drop Cooper off. And she's like, just got really calm. She's like, well, I don't know what to do. They walk back out into the lobby, and in front of several witnesses, all of a sudden she states, Ross must have left him in the car. No other reason. No other explanation, Ross must have left him in the car. And they try to console her, and they're like, no, there's 1,000 reasons there. He could have taken him to lunch or something. We don't know yet.
Speak of law enforcement back at the treehouse.
She did.
On purpose. Crime psychosis.
Police.
Someone murdered their children, therefore they murdered their children for the reasons I made the fuck up.
So with her there, did they say anything of note about her reaction at the scene?
At least in the context of this case, you made it the fuck up.
Her reaction at the scene, she didn't show any emotion when they asked her, or actually when they notified her of Cooper's death.
Did she ask to see her son or anything like that?
No.
Who did she ask to see?
She has to see her husband.
Describe what happened during this conversation.
The officer stated that while they were sitting there talking land, she either received or made a phone call from her mom, and she described it as, or the officers, detectives, described described it as she just started screaming over here. What do you mean? And during this conversation, with all this emotion coming out, she's asked Leanne. They can hear who she identified as her mom. And during this, she's like, "Why aren't you crying? Why aren't you reacting to this?"
And what did Leanne say?
She said, "I must be in shock."
And Anne, his wife, they room together.
I did.
When you did that, who was it that got emotional? What was he being emotional about? What was the main thing he was crying about or sobbing about, whatever?
It was all about him. I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe, this happened to me. Why am I being punished for this? And it continued. It was all very one-sided. About losing his job. What are we going to do? I'm going to lose my job. I'll be charged with a felony.
Or say anything to him about what he said to police?
She asked him, she had him sit down, and he starts going through this, and she looks at him, she's like, "Well, did you say too much?"
Of course. He says, "You say too much?" Because and everything is, you can see it in the face. You can read the person's face, the expression.
Not to get the level of detail you claim to have.
You can read it right there. And it becomes obvious. And that's extremely important that you can actually see that. That's what you can tell.
Conversation. Did the defendant try to describe to Leanne how Cooper looked when he pulled him out of that car?
He did. Sitting there face to face, and they were left alone in the interview room, and he looks at her, and he's like, he looked peaceful. Then Cooper's eyes were closed, his mouth was closed, and he just looked peaceful lying there.
Yeah, he looks peaceful. The eyes are closed, and he's in peace with Jesus.
No. That is not what just fucking said. No.
That's what he imagined in his mind.
No.
But the reality is that the kid was decomposing. He was just eyes open, like something like that, because it's death. The kid suffers, and when that happens, you create the expression. It's almost like a rigor mortis. It's not quite yet, but
Rigus mortis. Rigus. I think you mean rigor mortis.
it's that expression of death, and he doesn't want to see that. He sees it very different. It's going to be with Jesus. It's peaceful.
See the child laying on the bed.
I did not witness Cooper on the scene.
Have you seen the photographs?
I've seen the photographs, and I was present during Cooper's autopsy, yes.
Closed?
It was not closed.
And in describing how Cooper was laid, did you notice anything?
Yeah, it smelled like it was a foul order. It smelled like decomposition.
Pain.
We did.
Okay. What did he say? Would it have been a painful death?
Yes.
Did you notice were there any injuries to the child's face?
There were.
And what were those?
The way it's explained, there were several marks on the child's face. It would have come from the child or a scratch being made while the child was alive, and then not healing, not scanning the odor over or anything like that, and just soon after he passed away, to the back of the child's head.
On the day of the incident, on June the 18th, 2014, and reviewing the computers and phones and things like that of the defendants, did you uncover anything of what he was doing during that day while the child was out in the car?
Yes, up to 6 different conversations with different women. It appeared from the messages from Kick mostly, which is a messaging service.
And is that a computer-related messaging service?
It is.
What nature were they?
The most common term would be sexting.
worked outside the car.
Yes, there are photos of his exposed penis, erect penis being sent. There are also photos of women's breasts being sent back to him. I have not.
Have you located any of them?
I've located 2 of them. Okay. She said that she had first met Ross, and she knew him as Ross through Scout, which is another messaging service, and that he had met up and that he wanted to hook up with her.
These chats back and forth?
Yes, she did.
Okay. But,
I have.
and how old is that girl?
She is 17 this time.
How old was she? Now 17. They started when she was 16.
Correct.
Were these sexually involved as well?
They were.
Okay, did he send any pictures to her?
He did. He sent a picture of his exposed erect penis.
Keep in mind, we are evolved mutated primates. We're horny. We males masturbate and get involved with smell the pheromones, we get horny. We want to have sex. But there we go. There you have Christ psychosis.
Any person who is sexually promiscuous with a bunch of different... So, like, your evidence that this was religiously motivated is that the guy wants to do it so he can have a lot of sex. And that's evidence that he believes in a religion which says he can't have a lot of sex. Like, those two things seem logically unrelated at best.
We had this religious, completely abnormal, demented, at least for 1,000 years, that makes sex dirty and bad. One man, one woman, the marriage crap and all that bunch of bullshit. And you have these, oh, gay, homosexual, we are all bisexual by nature. We're 8.
No, we fucking aren't! That is a fucking falsehood.
We are crazy apes. And of course, when you're brought in this religious crap, anti-sex psychotic imbecilities, everything's dirty. And you feel guilty if you're brought up in this religious psychotics homes. You feel guilty that everything is sex. And the guy wants to get to, when women, he's married because of the religious psychosis.
Because marriage doesn't happen because two people want, love each other and want to be happy together and think they'll be happy, living together and perhaps only having each other as sexual partners. No. Marriage is the result of Christ psychosis and is therefore an inherently bad thing, presumably.
And then he follows it through there, and everything is dirty and sick, and then he wants to do it in the USA. We are males. Males, you never have one male that's going to be one female. No.
That is, in fact, bullshit. There are naturally monogamous species.
Oh, we try to spread disease. It's in the animal. We're animals. It's all over the place. That's natural. But the stupid Christians, no sex before marriage and all that imbecility. These people are lunatics. And this crap spreads in churches. And here are the results. When people commit suicide and kill themselves and they start beating kids in school because they're gay.
Because following a religion that explicitly prohibits suicide is going to cause a lot of suicide. Like, okay, granted, sometimes people do kill themselves for religious reasons, but that's not the majority of suicides. Suicide is generally the result of a person being clinically depressed.
And they
which is not necessarily due to religion either. It can also be due to, macho culture. Essentially the gender narrative I've talked about in previous videos in this series, particularly my double feature responding to A Voice for Men and Radfem Hub.
In Islam psychotic countries, they honor killings and they kill a woman because she didn't cover her face and because she talked to a man and because she married, etc. It's all Abrahamic psychosis. It's all in this religious bullshit crap. These people are demented. This is, and here are the results. And you have these problems.
Examination of these computers.
We've only scratched the surface.
Now, based upon
So, Venus Christ.
these computers and other devices he's had contact with, is it obvious that he has deleted some of the things from cross-referencing these computers and phones and items?
Yes.
Mine. Did the wife tell you anything they were having any problems in their marriage?
Leanna stated that they're having intimacy problems.
Now online, that he yearned to be childless, that he was sexting with a number of different women on the very day his child.
Hear that? He yearns to be childless. It's not fucking religion.
Is dying in a parking lot. It depicts him as a depraved and almost sick individual who somehow studied how animals die inside of a hot car. Now, though, the defense is beginning to point out certain things. One point that was made, the family had financial problems and there was insurance on one of the two insurance policies. The defense has managed to get the lead investigator to sort of waffle on whether they really had financial problems. A mile to go from where the two had breakfast to where the father goes to work and the daycare is located. There is the common sense, and then there is the just almost unbelievable sexual texting lifestyle that is depicted by the DA.
The motive. Remember this, they don't mention this. This is extremely important. Both people were crack psychotics.
Why is that important? The fact that you have decided that every single bad thing that ever happens ever must be caused by religion does not mean that other people are obligated to bend to your whims and mention facts just because in your fucking demented, delusional, in a metaphorical way of speaking, mind thinks that those things are important. No one is obligated to bend to the fact that you're a fucking moron.
Were deeply religious.
I don't care.
They believe in zombie Jesus. They believe in heaven. They believe in this life after death type of thing. The man wanted to be free. You know, have no kids. To be free. And it's interesting that if you do research of how long it takes for a kid to die in a car, remember, this man is a Christ psychosis person. He believes in this life after death thing. So if you love a child so much and you want to be single, well, you can go with your wife and say, hey, you know, let's have him in heaven. Let's put him in heaven. The same thing that.
So, like, at best, you could argue that helped them rationalize what they were doing, but even that isn't established. We don't know that even occurred to them. It may well have in passing. We certainly have no reason to think it was actually part of their motivation, which is what would be necessary for this to be caused by religion. And we definitely don't know that atheists couldn't or wouldn't have done the same thing.
Yates did when she drowned her 5 children. Because he loved the kid. So he did research, then also did research how to survive prison, life in prison. So everything was, they were planting things. And put the kid strapping over there, and then left him there to die, to be in heaven, to go into heaven. And that's the reason there was no emotion in her part. See, this is the psychology of it, the brain of these people. And the cause of all this is the psychopathy. It's like a schizophrenia that when you believe in the things to be true and they're not.
No, that's not what fucking schizophrenia is!
Feel good. I mean, that you're going to be in heaven. If you're a Christ psychotic, You know, if you die, if your pets die, you think, well, I'm going to join them when I die. They're going to be in heaven, and if
Not necessarily. Not every Christian thinks that animals have souls.
kids die, well, they're going to a better place. And this psychosis is keep reinforced every Sunday in church.
Except for the Christians who don't go to church, which is a load of them, or the Christians who, you know, either go on and off, or are Christmas and Easter, etc.
That's what the whole thing. Every Sunday, and the whole United States of America is Christian. Is Christianity infected? There are constantly services in church about God, about Jesus, about the beautiful things in heaven, about life after death, and constantly this is happening. So, and they have a service, and when somebody dies, well, they're in a better place, and they have a vigil, and they have a prayer vigil. This is psychosis. This is something that is completely rational in this 21st century. And any neurologist will tell you that it is a psychosis. This
No fucking neurologist would ever say that.
believing in imaginary friends that they're saved with blood, or they're gods and they're angels and they have the kids in heaven, and this is the problem. And
Let me put it this way, Calpurnpiso. I think that if this were something that every neurologist knew, then it wouldn't just be you, a couple of other fuckwits on the internet, and a couple of, you know, atheist demagogues saying it.
when you believe in things like that, it's very easy for you to take the child and get it prepared to go to heaven. Like Andrea Yates, when did she drown her children? And I have tons of examples like this, tons of them. But it will take me about 10 hours making a video, presented them to you. So I'm just mentioning that the reason, the motive is, again, this life after death, Christianity, the Bible crap that is being taught to children in church. So it is nothing for him to have a kid. And then when he goes over there into the car, the kid is like this, and it smells really bad. The kid is decomposing and dead. He doesn't want to tell you that. He said that he found the kid very peaceful with the eyes closed and nice, which is a lie because that's reality. There's no life after death. It's bacteria eating your remains, and the people think we're nothing but evolutionary primates. But that's reality, and that's science. And Christ psychotics don't understand science, and this is the problem. This is the problem nobody seems to see, and it happens all the time.
Mr. Harris.
I know him in a church setting, and that's all.
Okay. See, in a church setting, Christ psychotic. Look at this.
That was...
Christ psychotic.
Oh my god, she's wearing a cross necklace. That means that what she recently did must have been religiously motivated. As for the church context, we don't know what the fuck the question was to which she answered that something was in a church context. It could well have been that she's saying that a church is where, I don't know, she's gotten moral support for her child dying. Back before her friends knew that she was probably murdering them.
Woman.
No more evidence for purposes of honor.
See, the woman pastor. What is a pastor? Christian. What is a Christian? A Christian is a person that believes in imaginary friends. He believes in a zombie God that resurrected, saved with blood, for the sin committed by a madman and a ripped woman in the garden. A fruit offered to a madman and a ripped woman by a talking snake. This is Christianity. This is taught in the stupid Bible, in that crap, the mythological crap. It is a psychosis.
Just because it sounds silly doesn't mean you actually have to be mentally ill in order to believe it.
That's what pastors do. They teach all this crap. So they infect the brain of people like him with all this These are stupid Christian imbecilities. They're psychosis, deluded crap, it's schizophrenia thing. And some brains are very weak and they accept all these life after death mythologies that have been taught for thousands of years. And this is the problem. This is what they teach in millions of churches in the United States of America. They teach that zombie that resurrected with blood and how life after death and the zombie Jesus and the kids go to heaven and they're angels and they have a life after death which is better and blood saves with the blood of Jesus saves and all this psychopathy mumbo jumbo crap. And this is the problem. This is what psychologists don't understand.
Psychologists don't know as much about fucking psychology as some random retard on the internet.
The schizophrenic beliefs are the same like a Christian believes. Religious beliefs are a mental illness. It's like a form of schizophrenia. The stupid idiots here don't understand it. That's what I've been saying ad nauseum. And this is exactly what happened in this court. The guy is Christian. And he was taught by these constantly in churches. There was a little kid by Christianity-infected parents about this zombie Jesus bullshit. And life after death. And goes to church. And he reinforced all this crap. These people are psychotic. They're stuck in the Middle Ages. They don't show the science. They don't teach them that in school. They don't teach them about sex. They don't teach them about science and nothing of that. They just the zombie Jesus and the saves with blood and resurrect and you go to heaven when you die. Of course, and there you go.
Of course they don't teach you about science at church. It's not the subject matter at hand. If you want to learn about science, you go to a place that's there for you to learn about science. If you want to learn about religion, you go to a place that's there for you to learn about religion. This isn't like the failure of churches to do something that they're in any way obligated or should be expected to do.
When the women drown their children, they prevent their kids from having medicines because they believe in prayer. And all this mumbo jumbo goes on all the time in this country and nobody seems to see it. It is ridiculous.
People do see it. They just don't see what you have come to because what you're seeing, quote unquote, is not actually fucking there. Which, you know, is kind of ironic and amusing.
I bet you the jury will be by Christ-psychotic infected imbecile who will find this man not guilty. Guarantee it.
Really? Really?
The same that happened with the lady that killed her kid. The same shit, a different day. Christ psychosis.
6 inches away from you, with whom you just had breakfast 2 minutes before. There's the common sense argument, and then there is this alternative lifestyle argument, and both.
Well, you forget it because you're doing it on purpose. You already planned it. You're going to put the kid over there to go to heaven because you love the kid too much, and you've been taught that in church all the time, that there is life after death. So he actually, he feels very, very good to have this kid being in a better place, not in a sinful place with all these killings and all these problems in the United States, with all this sinful, with the demonic possession, with all this stuff bothering.
Which is why all the guy was concerned about was the fact that he might face consequences for his actions. That sounds like the behavior of someone who's overjoyed at the fact that his child is in heaven now. Fucking lunatic.
The kids. And so he says, oh, we're going to send it to heaven. And he agreed with his wife, but let's do this, let's plan it. So he does all that, and he puts the kid, and he does that on purpose. And then he researched how long it would take a kid. Yeah, the guy is a psychotic infected imbecile, a psychopath. Due to religious psychosis taught in churches in the United States of America. And of course, neurologists, they're stupid.
Hear that, neurologists? Neurologists are stupid. Calpurnpiso knows better. Neurologists are so stupid they don't understand science despite being fucking scientists. They don't understand the field they fucking spent 8 goddamn years getting a fucking degree in and have dedicated their fucking lives to studying. They don't understand it as well as you, some random fuckwit on the internet. You fucking... Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! You don't understand anything! 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 Fucking hell. It's just... Oh my god. Oh my god. That at least needs to be considered. Let's see, is that dumber than Trent? Yes, unquestionably. Dumber than persecution complex? Yes. 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 Yeah. See, I'm trying to figure out, is that number 5 or number 6? Let's see. Just to say, is it dumber or stupider? Astronauts. I'm really debating this because, like, you know what? Tentatively,
And judges and the rest of the country, they're idiots. They're all infected with Christ psychosis. They don't understand that. Especially they stop choose for sane, in other words, mentally healthy, atheist neurologists and scientists not to actually detect that. I mean, they've been teaching Christianity in this country for over 200, 300 years.
Okay, him just saying it's Christian neurologists. That actually puts it down a couple notches. right next to each other.
Constantly, and the parents teach their kids, and the kids teach their kids, and so forth. They have a school. They have Adventist schools. They have Mormon churches school, Brigham Young University, and they always keep in mind this life after death bullshit. Constantly, these demons and angels and demonic possession, all that crap, and there's miserable life on the planet Earth, the sinful planet, and they constantly, and the neurologists, scientists, atheists, don't say anything about it. It is a mental illness. There's no difference. I've been saying that. I keep saying that all the time, and nobody seems to pay attention to it. That's the reason. It's right there.
Have you considered, Calpurnpiso, that there might be a reason that no one pays attention to what you say?
This guy feels good that he actually is getting in heaven. Doesn't give a shit about the court. Just the same like Andrea Yates at Trump.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit about the court, which is why he fucking looks like he's crapping his pants in that courtroom footage. And why he was going on in the police station about how he's going to be punished for what he did.
One by one. Nobody mentions that. This psychosis of God belief. I call it Christ psychosis. Religious is organized schizophrenia. It's no difference between the imaginary friends created in infected brains of the psychosis and those found created by religious psychosis, which is one of the schizophrenias. It's the same thing. It's all in the brain, people. You know, the brain is the one that creates all thinking. A malfunctioning brain creates malfunctioning thoughts, thinking irrational thoughts. And these are all irrational thoughts that thanks to some religious belief, which is present in churches. Nobody seems to see it.
Because it's not really there. You know what? I'm gonna make a very poignant analogy, Calpurnpiso. I want you to imagine a schizophrenic who believes that who experiences visual hallucinations, that every time someone gets in a car wreck, there are evil car gremlins who are causing it. I want you to imagine them getting a camera and ranting on about how no one else sees that there are clearly these magic car gremlins. Maybe the reason that no one else sees it is because it's not really fucking there.
You have it.
And yes, right in front of all of us, the big elephant in the room. Churches, synagogues, or mosques. But in the United States, a Christianity-affected nation, you have churches spewing all that crap, all that mumbo-jumbo 12th century crap. And it make Americans stupid and dumb and ignorant and anti-science.
Trust me, we don't need Christianity for that.
And these people, they don't pay taxes. They don't pay. All the churches are tax exempt.
That doesn't mean that these people don't pay taxes. That just means that the churches, as institutions, don't pay taxes. And I agree that they should, but it's still not the same thing as what you just said.
In truth, there is no separation between church and state. It's only in name. So don't fool yourselves. It's a Christianity. Look at the churches. Look at all these people infected and raping the minor children. You have all this commotion with killing gays and burning synagogues and going after blacks and
because those are totally mainstream things that Christians in general do.
Killing blacks and committing suicide and shooting schools because
mainstream Christianity consists of shit that barely fucking exists.
Religious psychotics that drowning.
And let me clarify, when I say that it barely exists, I don't mean that it's not real or that it's not a problem, but it's not like a significant number of religious people, like 50+% or 10+% do this kind of thing.
Babies, 900 people in Guyana, you know, Reverend Jim Jones, remember? The Oklahoma building. These are Christ addicts because of Koresh.
The Oklahoma City bombing, which is what I think you're talking about, was not religiously motivated. It was politically motivated. Like most acts of terrorism, including 9/11.
Waco, Texas, and another Christ addict. You know, he believed himself to be Christ, and then on top of that, Heaven's Gate. I mean, there's tons of...
The Heaven's Gate... I think Heaven's Gate was a UFO cult that was either non-Christian or quasi-Christian.
Samples. And dumb atheists, intellectuals don't see it. But see, this is the problem in this country. And you can see it in the expression of this man. Look at his face. Look at this. You could see the same thing in Andrea Yates when she drowned the kids. And she was found not guilty. After, postpartum depression. And this one here, that this guy here, they're going to call it now forgetting kids in cars depression.
No. Like, if Andrea Yates, which I'm not familiar with that case at all, if she was found not guilty by reason of insanity, firstly, isn't that what you should advocate, Calpurnpiso? Because you think she did it because of a mental illness she had. Shouldn't these people be found not guilty by reason of insanity, and shouldn't they get treatment instead of fucking jail time?
Something like syndrome. See, they invent things, but they never call it for what it is, which is Christ psychosis. And they ought to do that. They will solve the problem. It's right in front of all of us. Believe in God, in this God that saved with blood, Jesus Christ, is a mental illness, a schizophrenia type disorder. And it should be treated. And this is the problem.
So Calpurnpiso advocates the presumably non-voluntary institutionalization of Christians for being Christians, even if said Christians aren't actually hurting anyone, because Calpurnpiso is one of those people who doesn't understand that not all mental illness warrants institutionalization. Or at least it comes off that way here. And so he thinks that, basically he's advocating for government persecution of Christians. He's advocating for religious persecution, for us to take religious people, institutionalize them, and through some means, and not let them go until we find some means of purging religion from their minds. Don't get it twisted. That is what this scum-sucking sack of wasted flesh is advocating. Nothing short of religious persecution and ideological tyranny. The idea that if you hold the wrong views that he doesn't like, then you should be institutionalized until you can be made to agree with him. And he's taken that concept, dressed it, or I'm sure it was dressed from the beginning, in punitive psychology, and is now preaching that on YouTube.
Enjoy. I'm always like to explain the things with the evidence to back it up. Because remember, and you actually go down to the roots of the problem, you find what it is. And it's right there. 2 + 2 = 4. any number these chrysocolic infected imbeciles will tell you it is. It is 4. That's it. Facts, talk, religious psychosis, bullshit, walks. That's your own.
So, actually, Joe, I'm going to leave the here on there. So let me just say that is my last fucking Calpurnpiso video. That is all I can fucking take of it. He is a fucking broken record. He has basically made the same goddamn video over and over again for his entire career, one of about 2 videos. I would say. Maybe more like 1.5. He makes the video about where Christianity came from, and the video about how it's horrible. He makes 2 videos over and motherfucking over again. And it's not worth it. And so I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to do that on my main channel as well. And anyone, save for Beetle, in our little video throwing exchange where I'm obligated to respond to anything he sends me, anyone who requests that I respond to a Calpurnpiso video is simply not going to have that request granted, because I'm fucking done. I am motherfucking done with this idiot. And I can't and shouldn't be expected to fucking take it anymore. I realize the lighting is now really, really, really shit, because it's gotten dark since I started recording this. Holy crap, it's after 8. But I guess before I abandon Calpurnpiso forever, and I fucking mean that, by the way, I just have one last thing I want to say. Just one last final statement to Calpurnpiso. Calpurnpiso's most explicit abhorrent aspect is how he stigmatizes religion and increases and encourages bigotry against religious people. And he certainly does that. However, he seems to have very little support outside of his own niche following. On the other hand, the other thing he does is encourage the stigmatization of mentally ill people. And I'm not saying that that's the only reason I care about him, but in a way, that's kind of the aspect of him that I find not most rancid, but most detrimental, is his stigmatization of mental illness, his perpetuating the idea that what it means to be mentally ill is to be a raving lunatic who lacks a connection to reality and who is liable to just go commit some kind of atrocity at any given time. That idea discourages people from admitting that they're mentally ill and from seeking treatment because they want to keep it to themselves. They want to keep it a secret because it encourages them to be ashamed of something they shouldn't be ashamed of. And for that, Calpurnpiso, I'm addressing you, for your stigmatization of mental illness, for your simply quite horrid bigotry, for your perpetuation of idiocy, for your continuation, for your negative influence on the atheistic movement, for all of just the horrible awful fucking shit you've ever said, and for being one of the most idiotic and unpleasant people on the internet, I just have to say, fuck you so fucking much. Go die. Stop existing. Stop being alive. Stop saying things. Stop. Just fucking stop and fucking die in a fucking fire, you fucking idiotic, monstrous asshole. Fuck you.